Hey there, everyone. Today I'm going to show you a tool that allows artificial intelligence agents to work with legal documents through MCP technology. Here we have a repository of some of the laws I've selected, the ones I work with most and my clients use the most. For example, we can go to one everyone knows, the Spanish Constitution. And here it's not only structured much more clearly so you can navigate through it, but we can also see the changes across different versions of the documents. For example, if we click on the history, we can see all the changes that have happened over time. And here if we click on, for example, some of the changes, we could see which parts were modified and how they compare. Here, for example, we see that from 1992 to 2024, this section was modified. We have here in Article 1, well, this first point, from this section, which would be Article 134. If I'm not mistaken, number 49, we click compare, and here we see what has been modified. This is really useful because, for example, when working with energy sector laws that change frequently, we can track the changes being applied and the tool highlights them for us. Let's look here, for example, the hydrocarbon sector, its history, and we see here both what's been modified and what's been added. We can look at, for example, a specific one. We click compare, and here we see exactly what they are, which parts were added and which parts were modified. All right, but we don't just have the ability to track what the changes are, where the articles are, but we can also interact and chat in a natural way with an artificial intelligence agent. For example, let me switch over to the Claude Code interface. The Claude Desktop app. For those who don't know it, you can download it here. Here are all the instructions, Claude codes, this one here, claude.ai. If you go to downloads, it shows you how to do it, even a tutorial for working with this tool. All right, in this tool here, I'm telling it, I'm asking how the energy legislation on self-consumption has changed. It searches in the BOE tool, which is a tool I've given it, connected to my documents and to how I structure all the legislation in the web app we saw earlier. And so it runs the search, and within it, it uses specific tools to look at, for example, self-consumption with electrical energy. For generation installations, it searches that same thing across all the laws we have. And here we get the electricity sector law, articles 9, 10, and the system ranks them by similarity and context so that the relevant legal units, when ILAs, which are sometimes articles, sometimes rules, show up at the top, and it can directly look up the legislation it needs. You can see the document is really long. Here it's searching another self-consumption regulation, which is another unit of law, and thanks to this precise search structured by legal units that are sometimes articles, sometimes rules, it gives us a much more accurate view than just searching through a PDF on its own. Here, for example, it runs other searches. Here, in this case, it's collective self-consumption, 5-kilometer distance, energy communities. And here it already gives me the evolution of self-consumption regulations, the 2019 article, here the 2025 one. And here it lists pending aspects which it can even discuss if it appears in the BOE. Another thing we could do, for example, and some clients already share their practical cases with me. For instance, hey, could you tell me the minimum distance for high voltage for an installation? So here it goes to the high voltage law and searches specifically. Right, as you can see, it's much faster than a PDF because it can work with the database that structures the information really well. Sometimes there are glitches, but well, we just try again. If you have any questions or want me to run a specific query, let me know in the comments and we'll do it. Alright, while this loads, I'm going to show you how to install it on your own system. Look, you can connect any tool to this. How do you do it? If you go to the Datons.com website, I'll drop the link in the chat now. Products, MCP, LegalDocs. I'll put it in the chat. There you go. Now, to access the tool from the chat interface, how do we do it? If you already have claude.ai and you've created an account, I'm going to now, so you're on claude.ai, which is one of the providers for working with artificial intelligence agents. Chats or ChatGPT could also work. Now, how do I connect? If we come here to the user profile and go to settings, here we have the connectors, and within the connectors, we need to specify this URL. I'll copy it. Here I'm going to remove the connector to start from scratch and click Add a custom connector. Let's give it a name, for example, BOE Datons, and we'll put the URL here, and now we add it. When we add it, it redirects us so we can configure it. The thing is, I already had it configured. I'll uninstall it because it's going to take you to authenticate. Here it tells you it's going to say this connect. So I click connect here and it takes me to the datons.com page where I authorize with an account you can create for free. You click allow here and it would be verified with the claude.ai client. So now we have the tool connected, we can configure it. Here we can see what the available tools are. Now, in order for me to use it, I need to create a new chat right here. And now I can ask it directly, use the BOE tool that we have connected right here. And we say, for example, how has the legislation on BESS storage changed? So here it detects the tool, and since we already gave it permission to search, it's going to do it automatically without asking for permission. Here it starts with the search, storage, energy, batteries. See, this is also what's interesting. The chat itself, based on what you tell it, knows how to query these systems very precisely because it gets straight to the point without adding articles, prepositions, and so on. Then here we see that after a couple of searches, it improves how it refines its query to our document system. It can even search by sections within the BOE documentation, so it doesn't dump all the text on us at once, which is a lot of text. That's actually why it's already compacting the conversation here, because it's too much information for the chat. So here it searches through the indexes across all documents where storage is mentioned, and then it runs a more specific search, in this case for storage, energy, hybridization, batteries, which is when you already have a solar plant installed, and how you could complement it so that the energy lost to curtailment, which is what you can produce because of risks of technical failures in the grid or supply. They cut you off and that energy is lost, but it could perfectly go to storage if you have it installed. So here we're going to search. The chat is going to look up the legislation for hybridizations. And here it starts to... The chat continues, still searching more specifically, but it keeps compacting. Sometimes it even seems like it gets into a loop, but anyway. We'll need to keep refining the tool. Of course, ultimately, I want this tool to evolve gradually, so that with your feedback, we keep improving which legislation you want structured and how. If there are bugs, let me know. You can go to datons.com, send me a message through the contact page, and I'll take it into account to... I'll respond within hours. Ian will see how we can keep improving this tool. And if you need access with more capacity or want to adapt it to your business needs, you can come here, Datons, schedule a call with me. You can see my availability here. And we get to know each other and figure out how I can help you integrate this tool or extend it, even customize it for you. Because at the end of the day, we can also install all of this on your servers however you want. We offer all those kinds of services, which is what you see here under solutions, and even more that aren't listed there, but anything related to programming and data, we can do that too. Let's see here, get to the point and limit the searches because you're running out of context. Here's what happens. When we run the search, we ask for 20 results, and that might be too much information, so it has to keep compacting the conversation over and over because it runs out of bandwidth, so to speak. Remember that AI systems aren't that smart. They just get flooded with a ton of information all at once, and that can exceed the system's capacity, which is about 600 pages in a single conversation where you send messages and it just crashes. That's why it's compacting right now. Thanks. The thing is, here it's already showing me the evolution. We can say here, detail the technical specifications found in the BOE. In the meantime, I'll go back to the page here. Alright, so notice right now I only have about 12 laws ingested. The plan is that soon, this week, I'll be adding all types of laws because depending on the document type, they're structured differently. Structuring a law organized by articles isn't the same as, say, technical regulations, which are organized by instructions. So you need different parsers for that. If you let me know, I can do it for specific documents and we keep improving the tool. The most interesting part to me here is the version history. For example, in this context, we could also search for specific things. For example, if I search for storage, I hit search and it directly shows me which articles mention it. And not only that, but so that you have better traceability and can trust the system. I've put a link here so you can go directly to the BOE and jump to the exact spots where it's stated. If we go back and I click here, the same thing appears, but just for this document. If instead of going to the BOE, you want to see the whole law, because this is ultimately just one article within the law, you can click here and it shows you the full document. And here on the right, you'll have an index navigator, so everything is much easier when browsing through the BOE information. And what I was saying is one of the most interesting parts. It's what clients asked for. It's the version tracking. Here, if you notice, we can see what changes have been made. We click compare and we can see specifically which text was modified in each law, in each document. For example, here, the last resort tariff, and here they change it by law, they lowercase it, designated as marketers, they change it to suppliers, and so on. And here they start to specify the changes in this legislature, in this legislation. All right, guys, let's see if Claude over here has finished. It looks like it crashed. I look into why and improve it. But anyway, I think it's been demonstrated how, on one hand, we have the BOE information well structured, accessible, and easy to browse. Not just the individual units of every law, but also how they compare across different periods when they were applied. And we can also connect it to the chat, so AI can navigate through all the BOE documentation and give us specific answers to the questions we have. And that's what we've built here. If you have any questions, no strings attached, I'll be happy to respond and help you out. Reach out to me here, and if you want a custom solution or want to extend this functionality for your use cases, schedule a call with me and we'll figure out how I can help. Take care and see you in the next one.